An 11-year-old boy was shot in the chest by a Mississippi police officer at his home after the boy had dialed 911 asking for help from the police. Police officers came to the residence. Everybody in the house was asked to leave. 2 minutes after being asked to leave, the boy moved from one room to the other. He just walked from one room to another, at which point the police officer, his name Greg Capers, shot the 11-year-old boy in the chest. The boy's name, Adarian Murray, hopefully my pronunciation's okay, apologies if it isn't, Adarian Murray, came very, very close to losing his life. This happened last Saturday morning. The 11-year-old boy suffered a collapsed lung, fractured ribs, a lacerated liver. He was given a chest tube. He was placed on a ventilator at the University of Mississippi Medical Center in Jackson. We're told that the boy is now recovering at home. He was released from hospital after just a few days, quite remarkable. And seemingly the boy is very confused, very concerned, traumatized no doubt, and he's asked his mother, whose name is Nakala Murray. The 11-year-old boy has asked the mother, "Why did he shoot me? What did I do?" So to clarify, the blessing is that the boy did survive, shot in the chest by a police officer for no good reason, as far as we're aware, based on the information that's been presented within the article that I've gone through. There's actually multiple articles about this subject. It's getting quite a bit of media coverage. Not quite an absolute blow up. Perhaps BLM aren't quite as active as they once were, but it is getting quite a bit of coverage, which I would say is fully justified, based on the information that I've read through. So it seems like the boy absolutely was an innocent party in his own home, following commands. He wasn't an aggressor in any way, shape or form, and he was shot in the chest. One would presume accidentally. That would be my presumption. The blessing is that he has survived. He's recovering at home, and I'm going to guess, we're not told this within the article, but I'm going to guess that he is going to make a full recovery. The boy, Adarian, has made a post, or perhaps several posts on Facebook, one of which says, "I'm okay, y'all." So he's telling his family, his friends, that he's doing okay, and I do hope that that is the case. I presume it is, otherwise he wouldn't have been released from hospital so quickly, and certainly I have to say that that is a blessing. Now, the article is telling us that the mother, again her name Nakala Murray, is not happy with the fact that her son was shot in the chest at their own home for no good reason. Yeah, I would agree with that one, Mom. But further, she's unhappy that the police officer concerned, again Greg Capers of the Indianola Police Department, has not yet been fired from his position. So the officer, Greg Capers, is on paid administrative leave during the investigation, which of course is ongoing. But the family feel at least somewhat aggrieved that he has not been immediately fired, that he's still receiving an income from the state, from the Indianola Police Department. And the mother has involved attorneys. And I'm going to say that the mother has enacted some level of activism or protest. That's my interpretation. There was a sit-in protest outside of the Indianola City Hall on Thursday morning. I believe my take on it, my interpretation, my judgment is that the attorneys concerned are going to try to make as much of a hoo-ha out of this situation as is possible, which I don't fully object to, but it does, to me at least, smack of at least some level of opportunism. Opportunism, is that the right? Am I pronouncing it correctly? There's going to be a multi-million-dollar case being pushed forward. That's my guess. The article hasn't confirmed that, but these guys are, I'm going to say, rightfully going to be pushing for a huge payout from the state. Based on the information that we have at this point in time, of course, the body camera footage does exist, but has not yet been released to the public, so we've not seen that. We're also told that there is further CCTV footage, video footage of the shooting from a nearby gas station. Perhaps some of that footage has been released, I'm not sure. But it does seem to me that the mother, the family, is utilizing an attorney or a team of attorneys to try to turn this into an opportunity to gain millions of dollars from the state. Now, normally I would object to such money grabbing. However, in this case, based on the information that we've been presented with at this point, it seems quite clear, if the information is accurate, that the 11-year-old boy posed zero threat to anybody. He's an 11-year-old boy. We're not told that he had any weapons. We're not told that he was behaving in any untoward manner. All he did was call for the cops because his father was involved in a domestic dispute with his mother. I'm going to correct what I've just said there. It wasn't actually the 11-year-old boy's father. It was the father of the 11-year-old boy's half-sister, who was in arguably a domestic disturbance dispute with the 11-year-old boy's mother at 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning. So this concerned the 11-year-old boy, Adarian. I believe he was asked to call the cops by his mom, so he did. Cops came, and Greg Capers allegedly had his gun drawn at the front door and shot Adarian as he walked around the corner of a hallway into the living room. So he was moving from one room to the next. After being asked to evacuate the home by the police officer, he was obeying orders, walking around in his home. He's an 11-year-old boy, and Greg Capers, the officer, seemingly felt the need to have his gun drawn, which sets off a little alarm bell in my mind. Either having the gun drawn was justified or not. Either having the gun drawn was following police protocol or not. I don't know the answers to either of those two questions. It certainly seems strange, and it seems sad, really, if it is protocol to always have your gun drawn when you're standing at the doorway of a family home. Seems like a bit of a silly protocol if that is the protocol, but officers do have to protect themselves. They don't know what's going on in any given situation. They don't know if there are any armed, erratic people, be that adults or children, within the environment that they're stepping into. So they do need to protect themselves. I'm very mindful of that, but I can't think why the officer felt the need to pull the trigger. Was there something that we're not being told? Did the boy have a knife? Well, we're not told that. Was somebody threatening the officer or threatening somebody else? Well, we're not told that. Was it an accidental misfiring? Perhaps due to the gun? I would suggest that's quite unlikely. I don't know. I'm guessing. I would think the police departments do regular quality checks on their guns, so that would strike me as being unlikely, but not impossible. Could it have been an accidental reaction from the officer? Yeah, I imagine it could have been. Officers are human. In the year 2023, give it another decade, that might well change. But for now, officers are human, and with that, prone to accidents. Now, I do need to mention that the police officer, Greg Capers, immediately assisted the shot boy, Adarian. So the mother put her hands over Adarian's wound to apply pressure to stop him from bleeding out, and the officer also rendered first aid. He put his hands over the mother's hands, again tried to stop Adarian's bleeding. So the officer did the right thing. Doesn't strike me that the officer was attempting to be murderous. He was attempting to save the boy's life, rightfully so, of course. Seemingly, paramedics arrived very quickly. They were very attentive, and thankfully, seemingly, the paramedics did a wonderful job. They saved the boy's life, and he was released from hospital a few days later. Of course, he's still in recovery, but he has told family and friends that he is doing okay. So there's a few more details to go over. The mother's daughter, the half-sister of Adarian, as well as a 2-year-old nephew, were in the house at the time of the shooting. Thankfully, they're safe. And the father of Adarian's half-sister was arrested during the day on Saturday, but he was released because the mother was not able to file a police report. And the mother said to reporters, well, how the heck am I supposed to be able to file a police report when my son has been shot by a police officer, and obviously I have to be with my son in hospital, not able to go down to the police station to fill out a freaking form, which I think is a pretty good point. I would imagine that it makes a lot of sense as a standard practice to insist that police reports are filed before charges are made in a lot of situations, but surely there must be some exemptions to that. Now, having said that, at this point in time, we're not really told a great deal of information in regards to the father. We're told that he was irate, and there seemed to arguably have been some level of domestic dispute at the home Saturday 4 a.m. Perhaps he was an unwelcome guest. Perhaps he was trespassing. We're not really told too much. We're not told that he was being a violent aggressor. Perhaps he was, but we're not told that. So with that, I would think perhaps he wasn't. So again, we don't have all of the pieces of the jigsaw at this point in time. That's pretty much all the details within the article. Just going to make a few comments. Of course, course, first and foremost, let's hope and pray that the 11-year-old boy, Adrian, does make a full recovery. It looks like he's well on the road to doing that. Hopefully he'll be able to come over the trauma. Hopefully he'll get the support that he needs moving forward. We're not told of a GoFundMe, but there is an attorney involved. I get the impression that some level of activism is being enacted. So I dare say that there is a GoFundMe or other means to accept funds, which I don't entirely begrudge. I do think that in this kind of situation, there is a tendency towards money grabbing, and I think there is a tendency towards political activism. Within the article that I've read through, there hasn't been any mention, any accusation that the shooting occurred out of a racial act, out of a hate crime. That hasn't been mentioned within the article that I read through, but I do wonder if that will be the argument that will be jumped on, because the boy, Adrian, is black, African American, a person of color. This seems like the kind of topic, the kind of crime, the kind of tragedy that the likes of BLM jump on to use as a political example. And in my view, I do try to not be overly political on this channel because people are very, very sensitive. I can say something and lose several subscribers. Maybe you'll stop watching my videos for something that I say or something that you think I say, but I'm going to say what I want in any case. My feeling is that BLM has selected quite a few very poor examples to celebrate, to lionize. I mean, the most recent one is the guy who I can't remember his name, but the Michael Jackson impersonator who was choked out on the subway in New York, I believe, and he was killed. Some would say murdered, and he's been lionized. The Michael Jackson impersonator has been lionized. Why did this man on a busy New York subway train murder this Michael Jackson impersonator? This poor little innocent Michael Jackson impersonator who was just minding his own business. Well, there are reasons why the white man choked out the Michael Jackson impersonator, because the Michael Jackson impersonator, as far as I understand, I've not looked into the case closely, but he was being more than a nuisance. He was being a danger potentially to other passengers, a number of passengers on the subway, and he has a history of such behavior. He's erratic, seemingly he's got mental illness of some kind. I can't remember the full details, but the point I'm trying to make is that BLM seemingly, in my opinion, pick the wrong candidates to support and lionize. But having said that, in this case, based on the information that's been released so far, or rather what's come out within the one or two articles that I reviewed at this point, it seems, and I'm confident that it will not definitely but likely remain to seem, that the boy was 100% innocent and not posing a threat to anybody at all in any shape or form. An 11-year-old boy in his own home trying to help his mom by calling police, and he gets shot. Sounds like a completely innocent party to me. So if there is a level of political activism, if BLM or other groups do jump on this situation as an example of police misconduct, I would likely support that, to be honest. I do generally feel that police need to be given some level of leniency. An investigation needs to go ahead. There is body cam footage, I believe, which I think will go a very long way to show exactly what happened. So I believe that the facts will come out. I don't for a second believe that an officer purposefully, knowingly shot an 11-year-old boy for no good reason. I don't believe that for one single second. I suspect if the boy posed no threat, I suspect that it was an accidental shooting, a mistake of one form or another. And don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that that would give an out-and-out pass to the officer, Greg Capers, should that be determined to be the case. That would still be incredibly serious negligence on his part. But I'm confident that a fair, thorough investigation will occur, and I dare say that a lot more information will come out at some point. Perhaps the body camera footage and the footage from a nearby gas station will be released. If so, perhaps I'll make an updated video in regards to the subject. I can understand why the family and the attorneys are upset that, or at least arguing that they're upset at, the officer still being on paid administrative leave, but I feel that that's a fair situation to be in. Up until the officer becomes a prime suspect in a crime, serious crime, for example, manslaughter or attempted manslaughter or something like that, then the officer ought to be allowed the opportunity to be investigated and not have his career decimated when he hasn't been found guilty of any misconduct at this point. So him being suspended on administrative paid leave, that's fine in my opinion. That's just how it is, and that's how it needs to be. The officers need to be supported to some level, certainly during the course of an investigation. But it is incredibly obvious of how damaging this will be to the family, to the boy concerned. Adorian, if I pronounce his name correctly, likely going to be severely traumatized by this incident. Hopefully he gets all of the psychological assistance that he'll need. His mother in particular also will be severely traumatized, and with those two things I would imagine that a multi-million-dollar payout is likely justified, would be my take on it. What other comments could I make? Well, not a lot really. I mean, the police conduct and the police equipment is going to be, everything's going to be investigated. So hopefully if there were errors made, hopefully this can be an example to the authorities, to those in the police department or departments that do train the officers. Hopefully this situation may help improve things for future situations. But I would imagine that's all underway. There's going to be an investigation. There's no way in my mind, in my opinion, that the police are going to not activate a thorough, genuine investigation. I just hope that it's going to be a fair one. I have come across a couple of cases that I can't remember off the top of my head where the police departments do, in my opinion, create somewhat of a knee-jerk reaction whereby they automatically declare the officer to be guilty of a crime, and they do so to calm a reaction from the community, such as riots, protests. So there is a political aspect that has an effect on the authorities' response, perhaps the district attorney, the mayor's response or such. So hopefully that can all remain calm and balanced. It does seem that that is the case at this point in time, that everything is calm and balanced. Let's hope that continues. I've perhaps done enough rambling at this point, so I'll wrap things up. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. I have given more of a commentary than I typically do. If you're able to give me any feedback on that, that would be good. I'm on the hunt for 2,000 members. I've not double checked, but I think the lowest level is $6 Australian, so maybe $4 US or something like that. If you feel that you'd like to become one of the first 2,000 members of this channel, please do consider joining, and you will discover, or you may discover, that you're actually the absolute first person to join. But anyway, there we go. Enough from me. I'm going to wrap things up. I'll be making a couple more videos. Maybe I'll do extended commentaries within those. I'm not sure. Thank you.